If you'd asked me a year ago who I trusted most, I wouldn't have said my girlfriend, or my brother, or even my dad. I would have said my best friend, Evan. That's why this story hurts as much as it does. I met Evan in sophomore year of college. We bonded over a group project neither of us wanted to do, and a shared love of bad coffee and overpriced ramen. That one semester turned into 4 years of friendship, late nights gaming, failed startup ideas, and moving into a Boston apartment together after graduation. We were the kind of friends who could read each other with one look, the kind who never kept score. At least, that's what I thought. So when he texted me one morning about a job posting, I didn't hesitate. Yo, this role has your name written all over it. It was a brand strategy lead position at a rapidly growing tech startup out in Chicago. Fully remote, stock options, relocation bonus, a base salary starting around $135. It was exactly the kind of job I'd been trying to break into for the past 2 years. I'd applied cold twice before to the same company and never even made it to a screening call. Didn't know you knew anyone there, I texted back. I met the hiring lead at a workshop last fall. I can refer you if you want. I read that line 3 times. I'd been working a corporate marketing job in Cambridge for about 4 years. I made just under 90 calories, worked on autopilot, and sat through weekly meetings that felt like deja vu. Getting out felt impossible. Until that text. He said he'd send in my resume that day. I spent the entire night revamping it, built a custom cover letter, and even polished my old pitch deck just in case they asked for samples. The interview process was fast, unusually fast. Within days, I'd spoken to the recruiter, met the CEO over Zoom, and walked them through a campaign breakdown. For the final step, they asked me to develop a short strategy pitch and a 30, 60, 90-day plan. I stayed up until 2 a.m. 3 nights in a row building it. Evan helped the whole way, gave feedback on the deck, tweaked my phrasing, even role-played mock interviews. "You're gonna get this," he said the night before the final call. No doubt. It felt like he meant it. After the last round, the CEO told me, "You've got great vision, Lucas. We're impressed." I left that meeting feeling like, for the first time in a long time, I'd actually done something right. Then, nothing. 3 days. No email. No update. I texted Evan. "Haven't heard anything yet." Weird. Let me check in with her. A full day passed. Then, out of the blue, I got the dreaded email from the recruiter. "Thanks for your time. We've decided to move forward with another candidate." That was it. No feedback. No reason. Just gone. I stared at the screen for a long time. It didn't make sense. I'd crushed every round. I knew I had. I texted Evan. They passed. His response? "What? Are you serious? Dude, that's insane. I thought you had it." Something felt off. The tone, the timing, the delay. I tried to shake it. Maybe they'd found someone with internal connections. Maybe it really wasn't personal. I told Marissa, my girlfriend of 6 years, about it that night. We were sitting on the couch with takeout boxes half finished on the table. "I just don't get it," I said. I gave everything I had to that process. Marissa set her chopsticks down. "You did. I saw you working till 2 a.m. You killed it." I nodded, but the whole thing gnawed at me. I couldn't let it go. 3 days later, I found out why. It started with a LinkedIn notification. Someone I used to work with liked a post. I clicked it without thinking, and there it was. Excited to announce that I've accepted a new role as head of brand strategy at Startup Name. The profile chair? Evan. My best friend. The same guy who said he referred me. The same guy who reviewed my strategy deck. The guy who told me, "You've got this." I sat there staring at my screen like it had glitched. It took me a full minute to realize my jaw was hanging open. Evan hadn't just gotten the job. He'd taken mine. I called him right away. No answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I texted, "How the hell did you end up with the job you were referring me to?" 10 minutes later, he replied, "Dude, I can explain. It's not what you think. Please let's talk." I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. Marissa walked into the room and saw the look on my face. "What happened?" I turned the screen toward her. She read the post. Her eyes narrowed. "Is that Evan?" I nodded. She blinked. "Wait, you're Evan? The one who was helping you prep?" "Yep." The room went silent. She sat next to me and said quietly, "That's disgusting." I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I laid there staring at the ceiling, remembering every time he said, "I've got your back," or "We're in this together," and how I bought it without question. I wasn't just mad. I felt stupid. The next morning, I got curious. Not just curious. Obsessed. I remembered we had a shared Google Drive from an old freelance project in college. We used it for design assets and templates. On a whim, I opened it up, and that's when I saw it, a folder with his name on it. Inside, a PDF titled Brand Strategy Pitch Final PDF. I opened it. It was mine, word for word. He had used my deck, the layout, the structure, the exact campaign examples I'd walked him through. He didn't even bother changing the file name metadata. My initials were still in the footer of one slide. He didn't just apply for the job. He became me to get it. That's where I'll stop for now. In the next part, I'll tell you how I decided to respond and how a single voicemail from the hiring manager changed everything. Let's just say Evan thought the story ended when he clicked post. He was wrong. I spent that entire weekend walking around with a pit in my stomach. I couldn't shake the image of Evan smiling in his LinkedIn profile, surrounded by clapping emojis and well-deserved comments from people who had no idea he'd stolen it all. But even worse than the betrayal itself was the fact that I still wanted to talk to him. That's the part that messed with my head. Some part of me was clinging to the idea that maybe there was an explanation. That maybe the company had offered him the role last minute and he just took it. That maybe he had guilt. That maybe he regretted it. But the evidence was staring me in the face. He used my deck, my layout, my language. The file still had my initials in it. You don't accidentally submit someone else's work as your own. Monday morning rolled around, and for the first time in 4 years, I called in sick. My boss at the marketing firm sounded concerned, but I didn't care. I just needed space. Marissa brought me a bagel and coffee before leaving for her shift. "You gonna do anything about it?" she asked gently. "I don't know what to do." "You always said he was loyal." I nodded, staring at the untouched food. "Yeah, I guess I said a lot of things." I spent most of the day refreshing Evan's LinkedIn profile like an idiot. Every few hours, new comments popped up. "Couldn't have happened to a better guy." "This team is lucky to have you." Each one felt like a punch. I wanted to scream into the void. He stole that role from me. Instead, I kept scrolling. I clicked the company's profile, went through their team page, saw his face already listed under leadership. It was real, permanent. He was living my future like he built it himself. That night, I got the voicemail. I didn't even hear my phone ring. It was just sitting there with the little red icon lit up. One new message. Blocked number. I didn't recognize the voice right away, but when I heard the name, my stomach dropped. "Hi, Lucas. This is Jenna, one of the hiring leads at Calix. I know this is unusual, but I wanted to clarify something. I'd heard through someone on our team that you were originally connected to the role through Evan Reed. There's been some confusion, and I just want to make sure there's no miscommunication about the referral timeline or submission details. Feel free to give me a call when you have a moment. Thanks." I played it twice, then a third time. She sounded cautious, like she was measuring her words. I sat there, heart racing, every part of me screaming wrong. "Call her back right now." But I waited until the next morning. I needed to calm down. When I finally called Jenna back, I kept it short. I told her that yes, Evan had offered to refer me, that I'd sent him my full resume, a custom pitch, and even my campaign portfolio, that he helped me prep and even sat in on a mock call. There was a pause on her end. Then she said, "Okay, that aligns with what we suspected." My throat tightened. "What do you mean?" I can't get into internal details, but we had flagged some inconsistencies in the application metadata. One of the designers noticed identical file properties between two candidate submissions. You and Evan, apparently. I felt like someone poured ice water down my back. He submitted my deck. There was another pause. "I'm sorry, Lucas. This isn't the first time we've run into something like this, but usually it doesn't go this far." I didn't know what to say. She continued, "You should know. You were the top pick. Until the final review round, we were drafting your offer." That one hit hard. "You were going to hire me," I said. "Yes." And then Evan submitted his version. Very similar, but with adjusted branding and personal examples. We thought it was just industry coincidence. Apparently not. I stared at the floor, handshaking. So what now? We're handling it internally. That's all I can say. I just didn't want you thinking you fell short. You didn't. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat in silence for a long time. Marissa came home and found me still on the couch, phone in hand. You okay? I told her everything. She sat down, wide-eyed, and said, "So what are you going to do with that?" "I don't know yet," I said, "but I'm not letting him pretend nothing happened." Because now it wasn't just a hunch. It wasn't paranoia. It was real, and he knew it. I didn't confront Evan right away. I wanted him to stew, to think I hadn't figured it out yet, to sit in his fancy new job, pretending it was all legit, while the ground slowly shifted underneath him. But I did one thing that night. I wrote him an email. Simple. Clean. Subject, about the role. "Evan, you and I both know exactly what you did. I'll give you one chance to explain yourself, not because you deserve it, but because I want to hear what kind of person you've turned into. Call me, Lucas. No threat. No emotion. Just a mirror." He didn't reply, but the next morning I got a call. He sounded like he hadn't slept. "Lucas, man, I swear I didn't mean for it to happen this way." I didn't say anything. "I thought you weren't going to get it," he continued. After the second round, I figured it was a long shot, and they reached out to me directly about a separate role. I didn't even. "You used my deck." I panicked. They liked it, and I thought, "You panicked?" And submitted a job pitch that still had my initials on it. Silence. "You looked me in the eye and said you had my back," I said, my voice flat. "And you were stealing from me the whole time." "I didn't know it'd go this far." "Didn't you?" More silence. Then, "I'm sorry." I laughed once. Cold. "Keep the job, Evan, but don't call me again. You made your choice." Then I hung up. That should have been the end. But things were just getting started, because Evan may have fooled the company once. But he wasn't ready for what happened next. After I hung up on Evan, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Not peace, not closure, but clarity. I finally understood who he was and what I needed to do next. It wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. About not letting him rewrite history while I sat there like the quiet idiot who got passed over. And it started with a folder. Back when I was job hunting, I'd kept detailed documentation of everything. Email threads, resumes, pitch decks, call notes, even timestamps for version edits. At the time, I thought I was just being obsessive. Turns out, I was building a case file. That night, I organized it all. My resume sent to Evan on March 4. A PDF pitch deck last edited March 9. The Zoom invite Evan created for our mock interview. Texts where he gave feedback on the deck. Word-for-word phrases he later used in his own presentation. And the kicker? A file recovery record that showed he downloaded my pitch from the shared drive on March 13, just hours before his final interview. I didn't send it to the company. Not yet. Instead, I sent it to myself, with a backup to a cloud folder labeled Insurance, because I had a feeling this wasn't over. The next few days were weirdly quiet. No more texts from Evan. No updates from Jenna at Calyx, just silence. The kind that feels too calm, like the moment before a thunderstorm. Then, on Friday morning, I got a text from a mutual friend. "Hey, have you seen Evan's latest LinkedIn update?" I pulled it up, and there it was, tucked in a vague, carefully worded paragraph. After thoughtful conversations with leadership, I've decided to step down from my role at Calyx to explore new opportunities. No mention of why. No mention of how short the job lasted. Just a few dozen comments saying best of luck and excited to see what's next. I stared at the screen, jaw clenched. He was trying to spin it like he made the decision. Like this wasn't fallout from what he did to me. Like he was still the good guy. I almost closed the app. But then, I didn't. I wrote a comment. Short, civil, measured. Wild how fast that change came, especially after all the late-night pitch work. It sat there for 10 minutes. Then it was deleted. Then I was blocked. Classic. Marissa found me pacing the kitchen that, "You okay?" He's pretending like it never happened, like he just got burned out or some crap. She opened the fridge and grabbed a drink. "Are you going to out him?" I looked at her. "You think I should?" She shrugged. "Do you want to?" I sat down, cracked my knuckles. "I don't know. I just want it on the record. Somewhere." Marissa sat across from me and said something I still think about. Some people get to fail quietly, but when they screw over people like you, they deserve a little noise. That weekend, I wrote a Reddit post. Anonymous. No names. No company specifics. Just the full story. The referral, the stolen deck, the fake apology, The voicemail from HR, the silence that followed. I didn't expect much, maybe a few upvotes, a couple of comments validating my experience. By Monday morning, it had over 28,000. And by Tuesday, someone DM'd me, "Your story sounds almost exactly like what happened to my friend. Different company, but eerily similar. And the guy's name was Evan too." I froze, because this wasn't some random coincidence. Evan had done this before. I started digging. Old group chats, LinkedIn endorsements, workshop events he mentioned. I reached out to someone from our college capstone project who said Evan once borrowed a client pitch during a hackathon and won $500. That was years ago. I just hadn't seen the pattern because I'd been too close to him, too trusting. A few days later, Jenna emailed me again. Not a call, just a short message. "Lucas, thank you for your clarity and documentation. I can't share details, but the company has taken appropriate internal actions regarding Evan's conduct. Unofficially, our CEO is open to a follow-up conversation if you're still interested. No pressure either way. Best, Jenna." I reread it 3 times. They were giving me a second shot. That night, I told Marissa, "So what do you think?" She asked. "I think I'm tired of being quiet." She smiled. "Then don't be." The next day, I emailed Jenna back. I'd be happy to talk. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe, just maybe, the story wasn't ending in silence after all. I thought I'd feel triumphant. I thought getting that email from Jenna would light something inside me, some kind of justice-fueled dopamine hit. But sitting there, staring at my screen, I just felt still. Not happy, not angry, just flat. Like my brain hadn't caught up to the fact that maybe for once, things were tipping back in my direction. I scheduled the follow-up with Calix for a Thursday afternoon. Jenna said it would be a casual conversation with the VP of Strategy and 2 department heads. Just a chance to talk shop again now that the situation had been handled. She never used Evan's name. Didn't have to. I didn't tell many people. Not even my parents. I told Marissa, obviously. Her reaction? "You better not wear that wrinkled navy shirt again." I'm going for chill professional. You're going for unemployed but slightly ironed. Get a steamer. I love her. I do. The interview, if you could even call it that, was smoother than I expected. Halfway through the call, the VP leaned back and said, "I read your deck 3 times. I actually thought Evan wrote it, until Jenna told me the truth." There it was. Out loud. No dancing around it. Just the raw statement I'd needed to hear for weeks. "He's not the first smooth talker we've hired," one of the other leads added. "But you've got the content and the delivery." I didn't breathe for 3 full seconds. Then I nodded and said, "I just want a chance to prove I belong." The VP said, "We'll be in touch by Monday." I logged off and immediately threw my hands over my face. Not to scream, just to catch my breath. That night, Evan texted me. I hadn't heard from him in almost 10 days. I thought maybe he'd finally moved on. Maybe he was too embarrassed. But no, the text just said, "You happy now?" I didn't answer. A minute later, another ping. "You think this makes you better than me?" Still no answer. Then a third, "You couldn't win on your own, so you had to take me down?" That one made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was so Evan. I typed a reply, deleted it, typed again, deleted. Eventually, I sent one word, projection. Blocked him. Done. The next morning, I got the email. "We're excited to move forward with your offer. Welcome to Calix." I stared at it, blinking. Then I walked out to the living room, held my phone up to Marissa, and said, "I got it." She blinked once, then twice. Then, "Oh my God, you got it?" She jumped off the couch, knocking over her mug of tea, and tackled me in a hug. I think I actually yelled. We celebrated with cheap champagne and overpriced pizza. It was perfect. For the first time in a long time, I felt like the ground underneath me was solid. But here's the part people don't talk about when they win. What comes after the win? Because it wasn't all smooth from there. Starting at Calix was intimidating as hell. People knew about Evan, at least in the whisper network kind of way. I could feel the subtext in some of the meetings. I knew who I was replacing. Some people were relieved. Some were cautious. One guy even asked during our second week working together, "You're not going to ghost us too, right?" I smiled and said, "Only if you steal my files first." We both laughed. But under the joke, I meant every word. I got lunch with Jenna 2 weeks in. She apologized again, even though she didn't need to. "I feel like I should have seen it earlier," she said. "But people like him, They know how to cover their tracks. I nodded. Do you want me to ever say anything to the team? About what really happened? I thought about it, then said, no, let them think whatever they want. I'm not here to correct rumors. I'm here to work. She smiled. Good answer. One night, I was on a Zoom call prepping for a pitch when one of the analysts, Noor, I think her name was, paused mid-sentence and said, sorry, I really like the way you broke this down. It's clear you get the client. Something in me unfroze, not because she liked the format, but because it wasn't about Evan anymore. It was about me. Evan faded. Not all at once, but slowly. His Instagram got quieter. The mutual friends started peeling off. Someone mentioned he'd moved to Colorado. Another person said he was trying to freelance. I didn't care enough to confirm either. He became background noise in a story that no longer belonged to him. 1 month after I signed my contract, I took Marissa out to dinner at that same sushi place we used to go when we were broke and depressed. This time we ordered appetizers and dessert. No hesitation. Halfway through the miso soup, she asked, so, what would you have done differently? I didn't answer right away, then said, I think I would have trusted myself sooner. Not let him talk me out of what I knew in my gut. She nodded. Do you regret exposing him? I shook my head. I regret ever giving him the space to need exposing. The thing about closure is, no one tells you it's kind of a scam. You expect this clean moment, some final showdown, maybe a conversation where everything's said, all the hurt laid bare, and then you both walk away changed. He understands what he did. You get your peace. That never happened. Instead, I got silence. And weirdly enough, that was better. A few months into my new job at Calix, I realized how much quieter my mind had gotten. That voice in the back of my head, the one always doubting myself, wondering if I was being too dramatic or not enough, had started to go quiet. I was sleeping better. I wasn't obsessively checking who viewed my LinkedIn profile or trying to decode vague Instagram captions. I didn't need to anymore. Evan became a ghost, a lesson. An old file I archived without deleting. One afternoon, Jenna forwarded me an email from an old client Evan had once pitched. They'd reached out asking for me by name, said they remembered the way I had framed a particular strategy and wanted to work with me, not the company, me. I stared at the screen for a good minute. That was the moment. Not revenge, not confrontation, but this tiny acknowledgement that I had been seen back then, even when no one was looking. But life didn't pause just because I got a win. About 2 weeks after that client email, I got a text from an unknown number. Hope Calix is everything you wanted. No name, no signature. Just that. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. I blocked it and moved on. There was one night, though, early spring, when I ran into Evan. Total accident. I was coming out of a bookstore downtown, coffee in one hand, tote bag in the other, and there he was across the street, standing at a bus stop. Alone, he didn't see me. Or maybe he did and just pretended not to. He looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just dimmed. Like the version of him that once filled a room with charm had been toned down by life. I didn't wave, didn't freeze, just walked on. And that was the moment I realized I didn't need anything from him anymore. No apology, no explanation, not even eye contact. 6 months after I joined Calix, we landed a major contract with a tech company I'd once pitched while working under Evan. My name was on the contract. My deck led the presentation. During the post-meeting dinner, one of the clients said, I think you were in a different role last time we talked, weren't you? I smiled. Yeah, that was the warm-up act. Here's the truth. Some betrayals don't end with a dramatic confrontation. Some friendships don't blow up in fire. They just quietly dissolve, leaving ashes you don't care to sweep. I never got a full confession from Evan. Never got him to say, you were right, I lied, I used you. But I got something better. I got my name back. I got the work. I got my life back without needing his apology to validate it. And somewhere in that slow, steady rebuild, I realized the real win wasn't getting the job. It was knowing that when it all fell apart, I didn't. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?